Hello and welcome to G.E.L Podcast, episode 12. My name is Ray Emling. The gentleman in the Dragon Ball Z shirt over there, his name is Chaz Lewis, and of course, with us always, everywhere, is the all-seeing orb, Matty G.
Hello, folks.
What's up, guys? That's what the all-knowing orb sounds like.
Spirit Bomb's little sister.
Well, I'm wearing this lovely attire tonight because tonight is classic game night. Not like it's going to be any other night, but, you know, it's classic game night. But before we jump into that, a couple things I wanted to talk about from the last podcast. The first one is that Light of Hope thing that you were telling me about, Chaz.
Mm-hmm.
That is now on the Facebook page. So if anyone heard the podcast and wanted to check that out, I posted a link in there, as well as the new Age of Ultron trailer, which it doesn't really have anything to do with the last podcast, but I just throw that out there anyway. And the other thing I want to talk about. Last time, I got dropped out of the call.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want you guys to know.
That was on purpose.
Don't get used to this. Your 15 minutes of fame is up, okay? So
Are you addressing us?
I'm addressing you. Yes, I'm addressing you. You two.
I'm gonna
save
make
the
you.
whole podcast. Saved the whole podcast.
No, you didn't save anything.
Our ratings went up 12%, and then when you came back, they dropped 50%.
You know,
That put us in a negative percentage.
You know, I don't want to say that I have an ego, but I'm the greatest thing to ever be on the internet, and you guys should worship me.
I don't know what to say to that.
Yeah.
Also, you cannot worship any.
Even the all-knowing orb has nothing to say to that.
No. I'm totally just kidding. Thank you guys for saving the podcast. If that happens again, please, I don't know, do a magic trick or something. Just do a magic trick. Just be like da 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 da.
Whoa! Slow down. How'd you do that?
Ready for this?
Step by step. Wait.
It's gone.
Let me see your hands.
Where's his hands?
Oh my God.
I know. I know. Again, anyone not watching this is going to be like, what's going on? Did he just pull a rabbit out of the hat? I don't even know what's happening.
You know how black guys are with magic tricks.
They just lose it.
You just
I don't even know.
Hard out of Chaz's mouth from hundreds of miles away.
I don't even know what to say.
That's what just happened.
Dang.
All right, guys. So tonight we're going to be talking about classic video games.
In our lives, anyways.
Yeah, in our lives anyway. We're not going to be talking about everything because, you know, we're just going to be talking about kind of what we had growing up, and just thought it'd be a fun conversation, a little bit of nostalgia for anyone who listens, and I don't know, the way I kind of planned it was we're each going to talk about what consoles we had growing up. Matt, I will include handhelds, and I know for a fact when we were kids you had nothing growing up.
I had nothing.
Literally nothing.
I had nothing.
Literally,
he dragged my way out of the pit with these bare hands of mine.
And then he ascended to an orb.
Indeed.
Now you're perfect. But I'll kick things off because I feel like I had the most stuff growing up. But the thing is, I didn't actually have a lot of different consoles. I was just like I was Nintendo all growing up. Like when the newer gen consoles got out, I didn't get anything, which kind of sucked. But I mean, did either of you guys have the NES growing up? I know Matt did.
I played a lot of NES actually. My uncle had the system, so I kind of grew up a little bit playing like Double Dragon 1 and 2, Duck Hunt. There's a baseball game that was really fun that I used to play. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out was another one, but I don't think I've ever beaten King Hippopotamus, which is my only regret, I think.
Yeah. I had Punch-Out on my list as well. I played Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Actually, I didn't play Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I played the regular Punch-Out before Mike Tyson signed on. So I never actually got to fight Mike Tyson.
You're lucky. You ended up not getting maimed.
My ears are still intact.
Yeah.
It's good.
Go ahead, Chaz.
I never actually got my hands on the old systems. I think the oldest system I ever had my hands on, I'm not really sure what it came in order, but was the Sega and the Nintendo 64, which I think were around the same time. Am I right? Sega was later. Sega. Oh my God, I don't remember.
Genesis? Saturn?
Genesis. So that was after Nintendo 64, wasn't it? Yeah, see, it all kind of blurs together around that time.
Well, here's the thing. I know every other console. Sega just no. I never played Sega ever.
Yeah, I never did.
Sega kind of just died off after a while. Am I right?
Because
they tried to do the Dreamcast and move into the next gen consoles, and it just got defeated.
The Dreamcast was like ahead of its time, and so no one got it, but it was actually a decent console.
Yeah.
It was ahead of its time in the regard that if someone had made a car before cars were invented and the car didn't run, then that's what Sega Dreamcast was.
Yes, correct.
With me and the NES, I played, I had a lot of course, the first game that I had, I'm sure this is the first game a lot of people played, but the first game I ever played was the Super Mario Brothers / Duck Hunt combo. I don't know about you guys.
That was the first game you ever played?
First game I ever played.
Ever? In your entire life?
Yep.
How do you remember that?
Because I wasn't that young. I mean, I didn't get the NES when it first came out. Like, my Uncle Kirk got a Super Nintendo, and he's like, hey, I don't want this Nintendo anymore. Here you go.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, here's one game to go with it, son.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
But the Duck Hunt Super Mario combo was awesome. The Duck Hunt dog is still one of the most annoying characters in the world, and you still can't shoot him.
Yep, I agree.
Heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the first game system I ever owned, and I say I owned it in the regard that I didn't have it as my own. I shared it with my dad. It was his, and it was called the TurboGrafx, which a lot of people aren't familiar with. But
No.
you know, like the Sega Dreamcast was ahead of its time. The TurboGrafx was ahead of its time, and it came out in '90. And it actually had a handheld system that you could get with it that played cartridges. And a lot of people didn't know about it. The cartridges and CD-ROMs were actually out in the early '90s. And TurboGrafx was the one that introduced it, and now they make supercomputers. But they had fantastic games, and I'm actually really upset that they didn't continue on, because I think that they would be ahead of all the consoles right now.
What kind of games do they have?
They actually had Street Fighter on there. There's a game that they just remade called Splatterhouse that they replaced on the PlayStation. That was on the TurboGrafx.
Really?
Yeah. Shadow of the Beast, which is actually coming out for the PS4, I think this year, was on TurboGrafx. There's some iconic games for that system that if you didn't know the system, you probably wouldn't know the characters, which was like Bonk, who was this like caveman kid with this big head. I loved him because I was this little kid.
Game. I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It was that awesome
You
game.
like transformed into like a weird dinosaur dragon sometimes.
Well, he turned into a superhero later on called Airzonk, but he was just like a big-headed caveman kid, and he went around like hitting stuff with his heads, like dinosaurs and stuff, and just like shattering everything. It was awesome.
I'm lost.
Yeah. I mean, it's
It's
awesome. Yeah, I loved him because I was a big-headed little kid, and I love the fact that there was another big-headed little kid who was awesome.
Did you also blast everything in sight with your forehead?
I can attest to that.
Did.
He did. He definitely did. I still have the scars.
It was great. That's why he wears hats all the time.
Yeah, my head is just gone. There's nothing there.
It's just flat.
It's a fill-in. The hat actually has like half a sphere in it.
If I try to take this off, it sucks everything in.
So I actually was raised partially by this game system. My dad would play it, and he had me in the crib next to him, and I would like fall asleep to the video game music as a baby, and he'd rock me to sleep to the music
No
on the
wonder
video
you
game.
have so many problems. You hear 8-bit music and you're just like, what's going on? You get really upset.
Yeah.
I had a similar thing. I had an uncle who he was kind of scary. He was ex-military, very quiet, and we just had we didn't have anything in common. Yeah, we had nothing in common, and I just was always terrified of him. And one day I was over at his house. My parents were talking with my grandma, and I kind of peek in his room, and he's playing. I think it was Super Nintendo. He was playing Super Nintendo. He's playing Mortal Kombat, and he's just doing that. I'm sitting there watching him for 20 minutes, and finally he kind of looks over and he notices I'm there, and he's like, "You want to play?" And I had never really played Mortal Kombat before, especially, and I never played the Super Nintendo. So from Super Nintendo and Mortal Kombat, I kind of bonded with this uncle. That was the first time we ever actually bonded. It was really cool. But yeah, that video games to me have always been a bonding experience, especially some of the newer ones. When you were a kid, that's what you did. You're like, hey, come over, we can play Mario. It's it's a way to kind of hang out. So
Yeah.
I wasn't quite raised by it literally like you were, but
I'm in the sense a true gamer because I was raised by a video game partially.
Well, and then the same uncle that I played Mortal Kombat for, he was actually a really big computer guy. And when we got our first computer, he got me a CD-ROM with an emulator that literally had every single Super Nintendo game ever.
Good Lord.
Ever. I'm not even kidding. It was literally every Super Nintendo game ever. And I played a lot of them. The main ones I played, there was this X-Men one that was really fun that I played all the time. And then there was a Batman animated series one I played as well. And the main ones I really played were Kirby. There was what's the Mario one that was on Super Nintendo?
There were a lot of Mario games on Super Nintendo.
Yeah, but I mean there was one that was the first one. It was Super Mario World or something like that.
That sounds about right.
I think it was
I'm
that.
not familiar with Mario.
Yeah, well, I played Battletoads as well, which Battletoads is also a ripoff of TMNT, just like Street Sharks was.
Battletoads is hardest.
Battletoads is the hardest game ever. Yeah. And then the biggest game I played on there all the time, which, Matt, I know you had some experience with, was Chrono Trigger.
Yes, I have
Nice.
quite a bit of experience with that game. In fact, part of the inspiration behind my gamer tag and usernames.
Yeah, isn't the frog from that your icon on Twitter or something?
That might be possible, yes.
Yeah. What's his name on that? I forget his name.
His name is Frog.
Oh.
As a frog, but his name is Brian as a human.
Well, see, I didn't know that because I always named the frog Matt.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because that was your favorite character, so I always named it after you.
I've heard he's a huge dick in the Japanese version, which is funny to me. Because he's a super nice dude in the North American version.
Yeah. That game was... I never beat that game. Because the one problem the emulator had was you could save where you were at, but then it would randomly would overwrite itself, and it was only with certain games, and that was one of the games it did it with.
So how far did you get?
Right around the time you meet Frog.
When you beat Frog?
When you meet him, meet him in the church.
Wow, that's super early.
I know. I didn't get much further than that. I got a couple times further. What are you doing?
He's on the move.
He's moving.
Did you not plug in? You didn't plug it in again, did you?
That was right next to me.
Chat.
Right next to me.
simple thing you could do, and that's plug it in before we start.
Did I give you a headache?
Just like Glade always says, plug it in, plug it in.
The orb has spoken. You did.
Did
I shake your world?
Yes.
You did.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was about it for Super Nintendo, though. Let's talk Mortal Kombat for a little bit, because I'm sure all of us have played Mortal Kombat, right?
No.
I have.
Well, maybe just in an arcade for like
Actually,
15 minutes.
A little broader. What about just fighting games in general? Like, what were you guys' favorite and first fighting games?
My first fighting game was, I think it was Street Fighter 2, and that was really hard because, I mean, I've always been bad at fighting games. I'm still bad at fighting games, but I still play them. But yeah, Street Fighter 2, I always played as like, oh man, I don't even remember. Maybe Guile?
Guile? That seems like your character.
The American dude?
Yeah, wait, no, not Guile, sorry. Your character seems, Blanca. That's what I picture you as.
This little green Brazilian dude in jean shorts?
Yeah, he was almost like a monkey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I picture you as.
Yeah.
What was your game?
My first fighting game was actually was Street Fighter 1 on the TurboGrafx, and that's when you could only play as Ryu or Ken, and yeah, and they pretty much did the same shit.
Which one did you choose?
Oh yeah, Ryu all the time. Ken, I don't even know what Ken was. Just like the other guy to me. Even as a kid, I was like, what's his power?
Guy.
Yeah, I don't even really know what's special about Ken. He's just kind of there.
He's permanently the other guy.
He's got some nice hair now.
Yeah, it's blonde flowing type deal. And then at the end of that game, you fought Sagat, which was like the worst thing ever.
The final guy.
It was. So.
Going back to NES real quick. Do any of you remember the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game?
No.
No?
Yeah, I used to play it in the arcades.
Yeah. Yeah, that game was awesome. I'm just throwing that out. I loved that game.
Wow.
I used to have parties at Chuck E. Cheese's when I was a kid, and I would try to play that in The Simpsons at the arcade.
Yes.
Like Crazy Taxi Simpsons?
Oh yeah, Crazy Taxi too.
No, they had a Simpsons game where the one I played was the when you were Bart, and Bart like falls asleep and he has like, weird dreams.
Yeah, I remember that game.
Yeah, I had that one too.
Right, yeah.
Another fighting game I remember playing as a kid at where was it? Hidden Cove.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, Hidden Cove, yes.
Primal Rage, the dinosaur.
Yes, Primal Rage. Primal Rage and Rampage were both awesome games.
Weren't those like super bloody?
Yeah.
Primal Rage was super bloody.
Yeah.
Those dinosaurs fighting each other. But I mean, Rampage is not a fighting game, but
but I just loved Rampage too.
Three big monsters and just destroy cities, but you can never save.
Yes. My buddy had that on. I don't remember what he had it on. Maybe some sort of Nintendo, Super Nintendo, I think it was. That game was amazing. It was so
on
much fun.
N64 too, I think.
Was it another?
I beat the whole game in one night with Mark Benfield.
Yes.
Mark Benfield.
Oh my gosh.
High school kid.
Yeah.
Dude, Rampage. Me and a buddy used to back in the day where there were rumors about games but you couldn't fact check anything because you didn't have the internet. I say that like I'm so old. No, but seriously, me and a buddy played Rampage, and we basically we heard this rumor that if you got to City 100, that it would be your hometown. Which, looking back on it now, I don't know, that would have never happened because how would they know where your hometown was? But like, that was the rumor about that game. and me and a buddy had played like all day, and then we went to, this is another place you guys should know growing up. For anyone listening to this and don't know any of these places we're talking about, the three of us grew up in the same town, so we have a lot of old memories. But Exploration Station, remember that place?
Yeah, that was a weird place.
It was a weird place. But me and him ended up going there at like 3 o'clock on one day. We'd been playing all day before that. We were at like, what we did is we turned the TV off, but we left the game on because we knew you couldn't save. So we get back, and we're at like level 94, 95. We're almost there. And something happens and the game crashes. And never knew if we could make it.
That sounds like my experience with Final Fantasy VII.
Yes.
Twice.
Another thing about my childhood. Same kid that we played all those games with. He was a gaming fanatic, and he used to get games all the time. He was the first person I ever met who did the whole play a game, beat it, and sell it thing. I never grew up with that mentality, but here's what he would do.
Genius.
I'd come over to his house, and he'd be like, dude, like, first game I remember was Final Fantasy VIII. He's like, dude, this is the greatest game ever. You need to play this. It's so cool. So I start playing it. I get really involved in it. I stay the night. I play a little bit the next morning. Go home. Come back the next week, and I'm like, hey, can we play that Final Fantasy game?
Sold it.
Like, oh, I sold it. Like, there are literally, I would have to say, at least 25 to 30 games that I have started and have never beaten because of that. It was so bad. Final Fantasy
That
VIII
would irk me.
I think it was Metal Gear Solid 4 or 3.
Oh my goodness.
What's the one? What's the one when you're Snake and you're like in the woods?
Snake Eater.
Snake
That's
Eater?
the third
Is that
one.
what it is? Third one? Yeah. Played that one, got pretty far, never beat it. There's a lot of games like that growing up.
That sucks.
Super Nintendo, N64, everything like that. But let's talk handheld gaming. For the record, my first fighting game was Mortal Kombat, as I told you. What were your favorite fighters from your what's your favorite fighter from any fighter game ever? I'm curious about this.
Tekken 2.
What's your favorite fighter
What's
then?
your
What's your actual fighter?
My favorite fighter. How wrong?
Yeah.
How wrong? Because all he does is just kick the crap out of people.
What about you, Matt?
Oh, that's a hard question. I have to say Cody, mainly because I feel like we have similar personalities. And
Did you say
also
Kirby?
like Cody.
Kirby the
Travers.
Pink guy.
Cody Travers.
Oh, Cody Travers.
From Final Fight and
What
Street
game
Fighter.
is that from? Final Fight? Okay.
Final Fight is not a fighting game, it's more like Double Dragon, but Cody is also in like Street Fighter 3 and iterations of 4.
What was the game? What was the arcade game with the bear?
Tekken.
Was it Tekken?
Yep.
He was my favorite
Yep.
fighter for a long time. Was the giant bear?
Kuma.
He had the same fighting style as Jack though, the robot dude, the cyborg. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, well, in the earlier games he did. It might have split it up, but
He was my favorite for a while. Mortal Kombat, I really liked Riptile. No, wait. Was it Riptile? Wasn't there a guy that actually looked like a lizard?
Mylena looks like a lizard.
there was one in Soul Calibur who was an
Yeah,
actual
that's true.
reptile with a sword.
I don't know. Either way, all I know is my favorite characters in every fighting game are always the animal fighters. I don't know why. I just always thought they were cool. Until the day that Chaz, myself, and a couple other friends had a Tekken tournament, and I won with Robert Richards.
With a fat guy?
With
Yes.
Robert Richards.
Robert Richards.
Robert
I always show a
Richards.
picture, Matt.
I'm
Show
on
what
it
we're talking
already.
about.
Bring him up, Matty. Matty G, bring
See,
up
oh,
Robert
man.
Richards.
There's just
That
a bunch
bug.
of pictures of like fat white dudes, like real fat white dudes.
That bugged me because I thought I had it in the bag with Steve.
No. You can't beat fat.
Apparently
we showed
not.
a picture of Robert Richards before.
I think we did, but
You did in the last one.
But yeah, I will. Here we
Anyway.
go. It's a pretty good
Oh,
one.
he's got it coming.
I've got it. Hold your horses.
so while we're on the subject of fighting games, have you guys, either of you, played Killer Instinct?
No, but I've seen quite a bit of it played.
Killer Instinct, such a fun game. Like, that was that typical game where, like, you do a combo and the dude in the background, the narrator or whatever, would just be, he would just go like crazy. He'd be like, ultra combo, super combo, like screaming at you. You just get so hyped. You're like, yeah, I'm doing this right now. This is happening. And they were the most ridiculous combo, like 100-hit combos to the point where you're like floating up in the air and like
It's insane.
going crazy on it. It's so much fun.
There's a Native American character named Thunderhawk? Is that true?
Yes, on Killer Instinct.
Isn't that also, like, there's a character in Street Fighter named T-Hawk.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Is
That's probably a ripoff.
like, but I don't know what his first name is.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I know.
It is Thunderhawk. His name is Thunderhawk as well.
What? I know Thunderhawk used 2 tomahawks. When
He does, yeah. Yeah, T-Hawk from Street Fighter just has, like, air dives, but...
I always had a thing for. I always liked Zangief too.
Do you like Robot Zangief or Santa Zangief better?
Probably regular Zangief.
Say regular Zangief?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Hey, but here's the thing. Here's why I love
Crush your head
Zangief.
like Sparrow.
Here's why I love Zangief. You give me a mohawk and I am Zangief.
Are you, though?
I am.
Could you crush my head like Sparrow Egg?
I have before.
What?
Yeah, remember that one time I crushed your head like Sparrow Egg?
Yeah, I do. I was on stairs. That actually happened. Maybe you don't remember that.
I don't remember that. Apparently, I almost killed Matt. I don't even remember it.
Here's another guy that you would
That's
have
why
liked,
it's an
Ray.
orb now.
If you had gotten into Tekken, you would have liked this guy named Marduk.
Marduk?
Yeah, Marduk. You know what I'm talking about, Matt?
I think so.
Yeah,
I have an image in my brain.
he's a wrestler. Just like-
Yeah. I probably did use him too.
Yeah, you probably used King too if you ever played Tekken.
That's the Jaguar, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Did we ever figure out? I thought in the beginning King was a dude with a mask on, and then at some point I think he actually like became a dude with an actual leopard head.
You probably
That's
added
possible.
line
I don't know.
rounds or something crazy.
And then there was that guy Raven, who's straight up Blade ripoff.
All right, let's move on from fighting games and go into. I want to talk about handheld gaming. Chaz, did you have any handheld games growing up?
Just the original Game Boy. That's it. That's why I don't have much to say about it.
What did you play with it?
Like, what was that snake game where like you couldn't?
Snake.
Yeah, it
Snake?
was this game where you would like. You'd eat stuff and your tail would get longer,
Yeah,
and every
it's
time you
Snake.
got hurt, your tail would get.
It's called Snake.
Are you sure it was called Snake? Because there was another one that was called
Okay.
Snake.
Okay, it probably is a Snake ripoff, but
Was
the
it
original.
Worm? Worm.
Hold on, I'm checking.
I actually had the original Game Boy as well. That
I did
was
too.
old.
I never had the big, thick Game Boy. I had the original one. I had was the
Just
Game
the
Boy
color?
Pocket.
Oh.
No, the Pocket.
Whoa.
The one in between where it's black and white. Mine was really cool because it was like see-through green, so you could see all the parts and stuff. Everything was really cool. But the first game I ever got with it was surprisingly was not Pokemon. I didn't get Pokemon until I got my Game Boy Color.
My first was Pokemon.
No way. It might have been Pokemon. I don't know.
Yellow version.
I know for a fact one of the first games I had was a Wario game, which was really good. I think that was the one that came with the Pocket. And then I don't think I had Pokemon Red version until I had the Game Boy Color. I don't know. I think I got the Game Boy Color with Pokemon Red. But either way, Pokemon Red was my first Pokemon game ever. I had Pokemon Red for a long time, and then I had I didn't get Gold and Silver. I know you and another one of our buddies had Gold, and didn't you have Silver? And
I had Gold.
You had Gold, and he had Silver.
Was the greatest Pokemon game.
It was cool though because you had Gold, and Micah had Silver, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I ended up getting Crystal.
Mm-hmm.
No, was it Crystal?
Somebody had Crystal.
I had Crystal, but was that the third version of it?
Yeah. Yeah, the same gen.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I had Crystal version. So that was my my second Pokemon game. That's actually the last one I ever had. Actually. Well, besides I have Fire Red now, but it's Pokemon Red version.
Sapphire or Ruby?
Nope, never had Sapphire or Ruby.
Actually, I think Sapphire is my favorite.
Yeah, I never went to third gen. Second gen was all I ever had. That was the farthest I went up. Chaz has no idea what we're talking about. He's not a Pokemon guy. He never was.
Chaz, do you know who Jigglypuff is?
All I know is that that game was not Snake. that's the conclusion I came to.
All right.
Good.
Well, handheld gaming. Okay. Let's go to what I think.
What about first-gen games?
What about first-gen games? What?
Like, I'd say first-gen games like Xbox. No, this is before Xbox. PlayStation 1.
And N64.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I was about to jump into. That was just about to into. To me, I think N64 was the biggest console that it was the biggest console in my life. I had that for a long time. I had a lot of games on that. I never had a PlayStation or an Xbox for growing up. N64 was pretty much it. I had the GameCube a little bit, but N64, I had, Mario 64 was a great game. I had your Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Stadium, everything like that. Super Smash Brothers, I'll talk a little bit more about that. That's a big one. Zelda, I had Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time. Mm-hmm. Those are both great games. I had the first wrestling game I ever had was WCW Mayhem, and that was a fun game. That was a really fun game growing up. And then the two biggest ones for N64. I think the two biggest games for N64 period are Super Smash Brothers,
sure,
and GoldenEye.
Yes, those are both up there for sure.
Super Smash
GoldenEye.
Brothers.
Yeah, I played that one.
Anybody play Super Smash Brothers besides me?
What?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, a lot.
I think everyone had their hands on that at some point.
Who is your I know some of you probably haven't played some of the newer ones, but who's your best Super Smash Brothers character?
Ness.
Ness.
Yeah.
What about you, Chaz?
I don't know. I'd say maybe Luigi or Dr. Mario. Mario Doctor, whatever.
They're not the same.
One time. No, I said Mario Doctor. That's the one time that I've actually used it.
You're a rookie.
Well, I've only played it one time. That wasn't my console. I was a PlayStation guy.
Get out. My best forever. I tend to go with new people when I get bored, but growing up on the original Super Smash Bros., my best character was always Link.
You like the helicopter moves, don't you?
I do. Link was good. In Melee, I started using Donkey Kong more. I really like using Donkey Kong, and then in the newer one, I haven't played the newest one. I played Brawl, and I kind of used Pokemon Trainer a lot.
Really?
Yeah, because I love Charizard. Charizard is my all-time favorite Pokemon. So the fact that you could control Charizard was awesome to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk GoldenEye a little bit before we jump into PlayStation. GoldenEye. GoldenEye, I think as gamers, we can't thank GoldenEye enough because it really was, as far as I can remember. I mean, I know Doom may have been. I think Doom might have been the first ever first-person shooter, or at least one of the biggest ones. But GoldenEye was really the first multiplayer first-person shooter.
I thought Wolfenstein was.
Was it multiplayer though?
Maybe.
I thought Wolfenstein was single player.
Yeah.
It is single player.
GoldenEye was definitely the top multiplayer game of its time, though.
Well, Doom is a ripoff of Wolfenstein.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I think Wolfenstein was the first.
Definitely more iconic.
Yeah. But,
Right.
no, I mean, if it wasn't for GoldenEye, we wouldn't have, Call of Duty, what's the
Halo.
other big one? Medal of Honor, Halo, Destiny, like everything now. All the big first-person shooters now we wouldn't have if it wasn't for GoldenEye.
Yeah. GoldenEye was a solid shooter back in the day.
And I don't know if you guys know the story behind it. I'm sure anyone who's really into gaming has probably heard this, but the multiplayer mode wasn't supposed to be in the game. The creators of the game brought it to not the producers, like the people, basically people funding the project. They brought the idea of the multiplayer to them, and they didn't like it. They said, this would be stupid. No one would ever like this. We don't want it in the game. And at the last minute, the creators of the game threw it in there anyway.
Best decision ever.
Exactly. Like, we almost didn't have that. Like, just think of where the world would be if that was never put in the game.
Yeah, I mean, we'd still be there, but it probably would have been like maybe a generation later or something.
I don't know, man. I mean, we may still be there, but I'm trying to think, like, who would have had the idea to bring that to the table? Who would it have been then? Like, what game would have had that multiplayer function for the first time that would have been the big thing?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think games would have been different, so it could have came sooner or later. It could have next one could have been better, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It definitely was a fun one. I remember playing that with my uncle and like my family members and stuff whenever they came over. So
I remember just playing laser matches with my cousins. Yeah. I think. Is
it just me, or did they have traps that you could set up in that game, or was that later on?
I don't remember either. All I remember is the guns.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into what Chaz has been waiting for. Let's talk early PlayStation games.
Early PlayStation games.
Did you play Spyro the Dragon all the time, every day?
I didn't play Spyro the Dragon. I never bought it. I played the demo.
You lived Spyro the Dragon?
I didn't own it, but I don't know. Even as a kid, like it looked good to me, but there were other games that looked better to me. Like I got into Jak and Daxter. I think I bought Jak and Daxter 1 and 2. I didn't buy the one where he got older.
Is Jak and Daxter's one with like the elf dude and the weird?
Jak and Daxter was the elf dude and the little like
squirrel creature,
weasel guy. I don't know what you'd call him. It's been a long time since yeah.
And I always get those few confused because I know there's like 3 that have like a main guy and then a little tag-along partner.
Yeah, that became kind of like a theme. I think that was the PlayStation's theme too. They used that a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Final Fantasy VII, which I never finished because anyone who's familiar with the PlayStation knows that you had to have an external memory chip that you had to plug in. And before PlayStation 2 came out, there were these 2 buttons, and I think this was a special memory card that you could get, but you could format it by pressing the buttons on the memory chip. And I didn't know that. I didn't know what they were for. As a kid, I just said, oh, these buttons do, and I pressed it, formatted my chip, and I lost all my progress in Final Fantasy VII. This is when I made it all the way to the end.
This is the days before the whole, are you sure you want to delete everything on your memory card? They just did it.
Yeah. That stuff, that question that they ask over and over and over now, be happy that they ask you that now, because back then they were just like, done.
Well, you hit the button once, probably on accident, but that's cool.
I'm sure you knew what you were doing.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. We took care of it for you.
So have you ever beaten it?
No, you know what
I never freaking beat it. The second time, I just cheated, and I got I made it so that all my characters got supers right away. Like the refresh was really short, and I could get supers right away, so I could just dance through all the enemies. And then something happened again.
I remember with Final Fantasy VII the difference in Final Fantasy VIII. Was that PS2 or was that PS1 still?
I think it was still PS1.
PS1. I just remember the difference in graphics.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
How drastic the difference was. Like Final Fantasy VIII looked at the time, it was the best looking game I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Well, the cinematics were. Final Fantasy's always been known for cinematics.
Yeah, but Final Fantasy VIII, like even gameplay looked more real compared, like because Final Fantasy VII had the like triangles.
Yeah, they were still doing the big polygon thing back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
who did you use in your party most of the time?
In 7?
Yeah.
I never found God, what's the guy's name who uses the guns? They made a whole game based off of them. What was his name? Vincent. Yeah, I never found Vincent. I didn't know he existed at that time. I think I used Cloud Barrett, of course, because he's a big black guy with a gun arm. Like, hello, even as a kid, I thought that was amazing. And Sid, maybe? Because he cussed a lot.
Red 19.
Sid is a must.
Oh yeah, Red 19. Yes. The one I didn't use was Kate Sith, because that made no freaking sense to me whatsoever. Kate Sith looked like the guy who should be the I don't know, team mascot or something for Discovery Zone. I don't know.
Amazing.
But
Final Fantasy
fantastic.
Was good. I didn't play a lot of PlayStation. All I really had, I played a couple buddies' PlayStations. Like I said, I played Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy VII. I actually didn't play Final Fantasy VII. I watched him play it because it was still new to him, so he, of course, didn't want to give it up.
Sure.
I don't remember any other PlayStation games really besides those two.
Yeah, 7 was the first game that I'd ever seen turn-based fight style in. And when I first played, like, I saw the cover of it as a kid in the store, and I was like, oh, this looks really cool. And I got it, and I'm like, what the frick is going on? Why am I waiting to fight? What? Because, like, I was so used to that immediate reward of just going in and just, button smashing. I wasn't using strategic.
How do I jump on the guys? Where's the mushrooms?
Why am I waiting for this guy to smack me in the face?
Where's the fire flower?
So you've never played a Final Fantasy game before 7?
Mm-mm.
Have you ever gone back?
I think the only Final Fantasy game I played other than 7 was 12, which was less turn-based, I think, because it was.
Yeah, it was kind of strange.
Yeah, it was weird. It was like open world, free fighting style, but it was still turn-based.
Still turn-based, technically.
Yeah.
I played. I think I might have had a Final Fantasy game for Game Boy. Because before PlayStation, they were Nintendo, and I'm not 100% sure if I had a Final Fantasy game for Game Boy. I don't even remember what the name of it was, but it had a lot of Final Fantasy style characters, and it was an RPG, like a turn-based, not RPG, but like
you don't remember what it was called though?
I do not. I don't know, but I still think to this day, because I remember when my buddy had Final Fantasy VII, I was like, I thought I played Final Fantasy before. So to this day, I kind of think I still had it. I never knew what I had. I didn't understand the game at all, which is kind of the same thing with all Final Fantasy games for me. I'm like, I don't even know what's going on.
The Final Fantasy games I played the most were the spin-offs, like Crystal Chronicles and Tactics Advance. I actually played Tactics Advance enough to memorize all the weapons, all the armors by looking at the sprite, and I beat all 300 missions, I think 3 different times.
I played a lot of Kingdom Hearts. That was the other PlayStation game I played a lot of.
Was that PlayStation 1?
That was 2, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I never got Kingdom Hearts.
That was another one of those games, and my buddy was like, "You gotta try this game," and I played it, and I got really into it. Then I never got to beat it because he sold it.
Right. Yeah, I know one PlayStation game that I spent a lot of time on was Tekken 2 because I wanted to master all the characters, and that was the first fighting game that I was really interested in the storylines. And I think they did a really good job kind of like introducing you to each of the characters' storylines without like bogging you down with tons of details. So you kind of got an idea of what each of them were, and they each had these little things about them that made them unique. Like Lee was like a Jackie Chan fighting style.
Jackie Stan. Hi guys, I'm Jackie Stan. I'm gonna be fighting you guys today. It's gonna be good for everybody. I hope you're ready for it. Okay?
He had one thing that got me was he was in a fighting tournament and he had a pistol holstered in his side. So it was like always dangling around like when he was fighting guys and stuff. I was like, why don't you just shoot him? Like,
Why did you shoot him? Well, I didn't bring any bullets. Got the ammunition.
If I got knocked down, I just wave it at him.
Yeah, I got a gun here. Yeah.
Go away! I might shoot you. Well, and then like Jack and Prototype Jack were like these cybernetic humans. Well, Prototype Jack was just Prototype Jack was just like a robot, but Jack was like this robot that became self-aware or like started developing emotions or something like that, and then they terminated him, and that was his ending.
But he was just learning to love.
I remember at the end of it, it was like as a kid I remember being disturbed by this scene because he was like playing with a flower or something, and this little girl gave him a flower, and he's like looking at it, and then all of a sudden a satellite shot a giant beam through his chest and just put this giant gaping hole through him, and he just like
Hammer of Dawn.
Huh?
Right through his heart.
Right through his whatever would be there.
That's kind of the same story for Android 16. He was just starting to become humanized, and then he
Cell ate
head off.
And he got his head crushed.
Yeah,
it's true.
I'm pretty sure that they stole that. I'm pretty sure that was ripped off.
For who ripped who off? I think Tekken 2 was out before Dragon Ball.
That's what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure Dragon Ball Z ripped that off from Tekken 2.
Well, I mean, you gotta realize these whole things with robots is kind of overused over and over again. There's only so much you can do with self-aware robots.
That's true. That's true. It's like the Geth.
The what?
It's not like the Geth at all.
It's like the Geth.
I don't know what you're talking about, but there's two other games that I want to mention that I was really excited about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
One of them was Tenchu Stealth Assassins, which I feel like the only other person who would appreciate this as much as I do isn't here. He's in Japan. But I bought this game because I'm like, oh boy, ninjas! Like this looks so cool. And the whole thing was just sneaking around, trying to sneak up behind guys and like.
No one, I would have hated that game because I can't sneak.
I know you can't. I know you can't.
I'd be like, hey guys, what's going on?
Wait, what? For a ninja game, what were you expecting? Like Ninja Gaiden stuff?
Yeah, that's kind of, well, I was expecting more, like, I don't know, more straightforward action. Like, one of the things I noticed about the ninjas is that they were really, like, heavy and clunky. You know, like, when I jumped, it was like lag before I was able to do a flip or something, or I couldn't like do double flips or something. It looked like they had just learned how to tumble, and
so you couldn't do the shadow clone jutsu.
I did that stuff. I got all the equipment, and it was super cool. I remember there was one as a kid, like this was really exciting for me. One of the cheats you could put in was Ayane. You could get her sexy armor, which was just like it was like a little bit of padding, a see-through like netting shirt, and a thong. And I was like, what? As a kid, I didn't know what to do with this. I was like,
hey, Chaz lost his
yeah, that was it. It was gone. Tekken took it or not Tekken, Tenchu took it from me. So that was a
What's the
really
other
fun game. And then the other one was this one called Soul Reaver, which you guys probably are familiar with, which is a shame because
I've heard of it.
Raymond, who loves storylines, would probably love this one. I actually, as a kid who had the focus of a chicken sandwich, bought the games for the storyline. I didn't really buy it for the game itself. But it was basically about these vampires. It was about a league of vampires, and you were this guy named Raziel who got bitten by a vampire, so you became like a part of the legion of vampires. And your master, Cain, chooses you, and you think that he's going to like give you a promotion in his league, but instead he rips your wings off. You evolve, and you get wings before he does. And you think you're going to get a promotion. What he does instead is he rips your wings off and he kicks you in water, which in this game, one of the vampire's weaknesses is water. So he kicks you in the water, your skin melts off, you're just like this skeleton with like ripped off wings. And then this god brings you back to life. And basically you want to get revenge on Cain, and you think that this god is helping you. But what you can do is you can go between the living and the dead, and instead of sucking in blood now, you suck in souls. So you kill your enemies and you suck in their souls to keep yourself living. If you die, you go back to the spirit realm, and you can go back and forth. It was one of the coolest games I've ever played, and it had one of the best storylines and most engrossing storylines I've ever played.
Nice.
I would have recognized it if you said Legacy of Kain.
Legacy of Kain, yeah.
There's a few of those games, right? Did you play the other ones?
There were 3 of them, and I played every single one of them. There was a Series 2 that was just based on Kain, and I'm not sure if this was before or after Raziel, but it was just about Kain. In the 3rd game, you actually played as Kain and Raziel, and you switch back and forth between the two. And then that's when their storylines wrapped up, and you found out what the purpose of Raziel really was. It was fantastic. So good.
All right. Speaking of wrap-ups, we're running out of time here, guys. We got about 5 minutes left. So, real quick, something I wanted to hear. What other consoles had? Like, just give me a rundown of the consoles you guys had growing up.
I guess I'll start. Like,
Yeah, go for
owned?
Yeah, owned. Just owned. Like, what did you have playing growing up? And just name them real quick, and just so people kind of know what we had.
I was dealing with like original Game Boy, and then I got an Advance. I played a lot of Pokemon on both of those. I played a lot of, like I said, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance on my Advance, and then that's basically what I had until college, basically. I guess my family got a Wii when I was in high school, and then I finally bought my own console, like real console, PS2, my first year of college back in '09.
The good stuff.
The good stuff. I think I played Call of Duty 2 and Battlefront, the original Battlefront, on there a lot. And then after that, I think the very next year I got a 360, and I played so much Halo. Like, I got really good at Halo. I'm not good at like any other shooters. But then, I got out of college, I got a job, and now I have PS3, PS4, I have a PC.
Nice.
Don't you have an Xbox One too, or Xbox 360?
I used to. I don't have it anymore.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh, that's right. You sold it right before I got my PS3, and I was very mad at you.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Yes.
All right. What did you have growing up, Chaz? I know you kind of mentioned the one console I never heard of, and then the PlayStation 1, but just give me a rundown.
Yeah, basically that was it for my household. We had the TurboGrafx, and then basically PlayStation 1 through 3 for me. I'm at 3 right now. 4's coming.
Yeah, we know. We all know. In the last podcast, we mentioned that a few times. A couple
Shut
times.
up. Not everyone's made of money, man.
Hey, when are you going to get a PS4?
Hey, when are you going to shut up?
Never. Anyway, for me, growing up, like I said, I had an NES. I never actually had a Super
What's that?
Nintendo.
I understand stupid.
Hey, if you can't appreciate the original Nintendo, then you need to get out of the gaming community.
Hey, man, I played Nintendo. My uncle had that stuff. I played it every time I was over at his house.
Anyway, I didn't interrupt you, but thanks for that. No, original Nintendo. Like I said, I never had the Super Nintendo, but I had that emulator, so I played all the Super Nintendo games, but I never actually had the console. I had Game Boy Pocket, a Game Boy Color. I actually still have a Game Boy SP, the one that folds over. I still got that one with Fire Red, so I play that occasionally. Yeah, it still works. I play Fire Red on it occasionally if I get bored. But yeah, then N64, that was the biggest one I had for a long time. And then I switched to GameCube, and I sold my GameCube and all my games, thinking that that would get me enough money. This is back before GameStop bought it. I sold it at Electronic Boutique, EB Games.
Wow.
Yeah, I sold all my stuff thinking it would get me enough money to buy an Xbox, and it got me enough money to buy an Xbox game. That was all I had. So I actually sold all my stuff and bought WrestleMania 21 for Xbox with the promise that my parents promised me that they would give me an Xbox. Actually, I didn't sell my GameCube. That's right. I sold all my GameCube games, but I had a stack of like 30, thinking it would get me enough money to buy an Xbox. Didn't have enough. Sold the Xbox, got an Xbox game. My parents promised me they were going to buy me an Xbox to go with it. Never did. So I actually gave that Xbox game to a buddy because they had an Xbox. And then I moved to Florida. There was a PS2 and a Wii in the house. I played a couple games on that. And then my first console I purchased myself was the 360. Last Christmas I got myself a PS3 and got the Mass Effect trilogy on there. That was the first game I got on that, and now I got a PS4 for this Christmas. So that was kind of my rundown. I'm sticking with PlayStation now. As much as I like the original 360, I think the graphics on PlayStation are better, and plus you guys both have PlayStation, so that works out better for me anyway.
Yeah, the question is, where's the Nintendo on all this?
Nintendo kind of fell off the map, to be completely honest. I mean, it's good for. I guarantee when I have kids, Nintendo's we're gonna have that in our main room. Like that's gonna be our front room console because it's very kid oriented. But if you're a serious gamer, Nintendo's focusing more on the family aspect of things. They're not really focusing on the gamers.
See, I don't even really feel like that is because anything that Nintendo can do, I feel like you can get with either the Kinect or the Move for the PlayStation, whatever PlayStation 4 is using now.
Yeah.
I think was it the Eye or something like that. It's got all those capabilities.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see what Nintendo does in the next thing. I think the biggest thing that's keeping Nintendo afloat is the fact that like the Mario games to this day are still pretty good, and they're Nintendo exclusives.
But Chaz, you forget that Bayonetta 2 is a Nintendo exclusive.
Bayonetta 2? Are you kidding? Is that the chick with the hair?
Yeah, it's the hair.
Yeah. Of course. That hair, though.
That hair, though. Well, guys, that's our time for the evening. It's been a lovely time chatting with you, and I still don't think anybody will watch this. I have to. It's my bedtime. It's 7 p.m. On a Tuesday morning. No, I'm just kidding. Didn't even make sense.
No.
But yeah. We'll get together this week and figure out what we want to talk about for next week. We'll come up with some fun topics, but I hope that this episode has been as nostalgic for you guys as it has been for us. Any final word, guys?
Stay in school. Eat your broccoli.
I'd say don't eat your broccoli. Eat cauliflower.
I would
has
say
spoken.
Eat neither that. Eat beef jerky.
Okay.
What's wrong with you guys? We're gamers. We're supposed to have a diet of beef jerky, Monster, and Mountain Dew.
I think you mean Mountain Dew and Doritos.
Mountain Dew and Doritos. That's true. Mine was always beef jerky and Monster.
It's terrible for you.
I just ate food.
That's true. Me too.
No scavenger.
All right. Well, for G.E.L podcast, I'm Ray Emling. That's Chaz Lewis, and that's the all-seeing orb Matt Guilford. Have a good night, everybody.